So I call a meeting for Wakefield Board of Health at 7:03. Members attending are Elaine Silva, Candace Linehan, Laurel Gorville. Looks like Steve Mayo is here. Mark Sardella, and I'm not sure. We have two guests, Deborah Sarabian.
Hi, Jen McDonald's here as
Oh,
well.
good. Excellent. Yep.
I'm just
So we-
eavesdropping. Here to heckle.
perfect.
Okay, so she's Wakefield, and Deborah Sarabian, I believe, is on for Wakefield.
Yep.
James Horn, I don't know if he's on for Melrose or Wakefield. And I guess it doesn't matter because they're joint minutes, so we'll just put everybody on the
We'll
minutes.
stick them on there.
How's that? Okay, Lane? I mean,
Maureen.
Maureen?
Melrose Board of Health calls the meeting to order at 7:04. Present at the meeting is Frank Brincheiro and Maureen Garapay.
Okay, Wakefield. I sent draft minutes for April 15th.
Anybody want to make a motion from Wakefield?
Candace or Elaine, somebody has to talk.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Elaine, can you hear us? Elaine.
Okay, I think she's having some technical
Yeah, she's
difficulties. So
on.
why don't
Yeah.
you approve, why don't you,
So we'll well, the two, Candace and I can vote.
yep, you need to second it.
So I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's just Candace and I that get to do that for Wakefield, and then Maureen, go ahead, and I'm gonna text Elaine.
And
There she is.
I
She's coming.
I see her, but she can't, she's not talking.
She's on, but we can't hear her. Okay, Frank, I need a motion.
Motion to accept the minutes as written for April 15th for Melrose.
seconded. All in favor?
Oh, you need to do a roll call vote. Maureen,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
go back to Wakefield. Candace,
Yes.
Laurel,
Yes.
Elaine, can you hear us? Okay, she's abstaining because we can't hear her.
I
Okay,
just
sorry, I
texted her.
forgot about we have to do the roll call vote. Okay, Board of Health order to require facial coverings in certain public places. So I sent you copies of Brookline, Everett, and Salem's. I know other places have them. These were just the ones I used. And I kind of cut and paste with the comments that I thought I had been hearing. I believe the Melrose got a letter of support from the mayor. And just a few minutes before the meeting started, I forwarded Wakefield, Melrose, I don't know, one of you guys, I forwarded an email we just received against it.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I'll have to look.
No,
and
I
see.
mean, it'd be important to know if that was Melrose or Wakefield. I didn't get one.
Yeah.
It was Wakefield.
Again?
Okay.
So
We have it.
you have it. Okay, good. So I
Okay.
knew I sent it, but he didn't send it till 6:41. So anyway, I wasn't sure if you got it. Okay, so I sent it to the city solicitor and the town council. Melrose City Solicitor did not have any comments, but he did review it. And Wakefield Town Council reviewed it, and I sent you his editing comments, which I have to get off the printer. Hold on.
Okay. Ruth, you don't, oh, hi, Elaine.
Hi, can you hear me?
You can now, yep.
Okay, thanks. Sorry.
No worries.
My machines are tired.
Yeah, I get it. All right,
Um,
so everybody should have a copy of draft minutes. I mean, draft order, sorry.
I just have to,
So, I don't know, if anybody, who wants to comment first?
oh, I keep losing them. Hold on.
All right, so the first question I'm gonna ask is, there's two different formats, and this is a formatting issue, but some boards like to do the whereas stuff, which is more like a town council or city council order. And some go straight to the order. So that part I put in italics so that, you know, you can either keep it or not keep it, but you can tell which part that is. And then I thought that Brookline was, I don't know, it was where they were going even further, requiring gloves and eye protection and requiring the plexiglass barriers, which
yeah.
I thought was, you know, a little economically onerous. I mostly used Everett's because Salem's was earliest, and they included a lot of stuff that's already in the governor's orders, and I didn't want to repeat that because I didn't want it to at some point conflict. So that's why I didn't. So I don't know how you want to do this. Do you want to?
So I would say the beginning of with all the whereas comments, it gets a little wordy and repetitive stuff that people have already heard many times. But I do think having just one comment about whereas it's a highly contagious, potentially fatal respiratory disease, and then I think just the last two to kind of really accentuate that we're doing this to protect the workers who are working there, who are essential employees, and that we should be respectful of them because wearing a mask is really to protect those around you more than yourself. So I thought the last two,
So the last two, the
last
CDC
three,
thing.
whereas evidence indicates essential workers, et cetera, and whereas the CDC, et cetera.
So the last three.
Yeah, so the last three, and then just something at the beginning about whereas state of Massachusetts or city of Melrose is in a highly contagious COVID-19 infection, et cetera. Something to that effect.
Okay.
So I guess
Well-
scratch at that. So make the first paragraph shorter and eliminate the second one.
Okay,
I guess is what it comes down to.
got it. What about Maureen?
Okay, so I have to tell you, I'm not sold on this. Right now, I feel like the advisory we put out a month ago on the 6th of April ends in 10 days. So I called 8 different establishments that are involved in all of this. I will tell you that I called both supermarkets. One was all for it. Do whatever you want to do. We've got the signs ready to go from corporate. The other one is having absolutely no issues. They feel 1 in 30 people come in without a mask, and they speak to them and they have no issues whatsoever. So they're fine without it. I called the 3 pharmacies. I will tell you that one of the pharmacies said that he doesn't think that it's going to help. 2 of them said that, actually. They think it's going to be harder for them to enforce it than it is to leave it as is. One of the pharmacies said that, and actually 2 of them said most of the people that are not using face covering, they're the seniors, and they all say that they can't get them. So I said, well, stuff was delivered to the senior housing. So I would think that they would have it. I don't know where it went, but I know you said it was all delivered to senior housing.
Yep, it was.
And there is a phone number, which I don't have in front of me, where they can call if they need masks. There was a website also, which I don't have in front of me either. As one of the managers in one of the pharmacies said, you know what, if I have an elderly person that comes in here and doesn't have a mask on, do you think I'm going to tell her she can't get her medicines or she can't get over-the-counter medicines? She says, I can't do that. And he said, honestly, I think part of the problem is these poor old people, they have a routine. A lot of them are in elderly housing. They have to get out, and that's what they do. They're going to go to the pharmacy and do their thing. His biggest problem is people that have nothing else to do, so they're wandering up and down the aisles looking for the greatest bargain, and no face covering. The other two, one of them thought that if they try to enforce it, they're going to have a problem because they don't have security. And then what are you going to do if somebody starts to give them a hard time? What are you going to do? She said, I'm going to let them in. I'm not going to cause a big production over it. So I think it's a double-edged sword with the pharmacies. The ones that really were more interested were the variety stores. And I spoke to 3 of them, and pretty much they were all on board with it. But mostly I think because they know all their customers, they're local people that live around their stores, and they know everybody that comes in. And somebody will come home from work, run in and say, I just want milk, and they're out again. He said, if they come in, he tells them, he points to a sign in the window, or tells that the kids come in, he tells them to pull their shirts up over their mouth and nose, but they can't come in without it. I don't know. I'm not so sure that if we waited another week and just sent out a memo to our advisory that we sent out a month ago, and just ask people to please, before we have to make this an order and put a fine to it, think twice about going into a store without your mask. That's my feeling. What do you think, Frank?
Well, I'm wondering, so you're saying that, I think it's May 4th, actually, right? That our last advisory.
Yeah, which is like 10 days from now.
So you're saying if it looks like people are continuing to be non-compliant, that we then do something like this? Because I do agree that sometimes people can be on advisory and order and whatnot overload, you know. But I do think that from what I can see, some of the, especially the supermarkets, it has been, as I've said before, very, very variable, a big disparity in how they follow those recommendations that Baker had put out back on March 25th, I think. So I think something to get them to pay more attention to that and try to get them to comply and to get their customers to comply. Something needs to be said, whether it's an order or just or is there something between an advisory and an order?
If we sent out another notice that could be, remind them of the advisory that we put out, that they should be wearing masks, and please comply with it before we have to make this mandatory, and attach a fine to it. And then give it a week or so and see what happens. I mean, we have until the 4th when we have to either renew that advisory anyway, or let it go. And that's the one that also has the curfew.
So I just wanted to let you know that our office and the mayor's office gets multiple complaints every day from the public who say, I was at so-and-so, they're not wearing a mask. I was somewhere else, they weren't wearing a mask. And the answer we give them is, Thank you for letting us know, but they don't have to. So it doesn't go over very well with the public.
And I do understand Paul Broder's point that a lot of these things have to be kind of done on a regional basis, or else they're really hard to kind of enforce and make real. So I don't think we should copycat and just do what folks around us are doing just because everyone else is doing it. But I do, you know, again, I do see that compliance has not been what it should be with a lot of the supermarkets anyway. I haven't been to a lot of pharmacies lately, but Walgreens is closed, by the way, for some reason, temporarily.
I talked to her yesterday.
I called today and there's just a recording saying this site is temporarily closed.
Oh, wow.
Wakefield, you guys want to talk?
I'll
I'm
start.
from Wakefield.
Oh, okay. Hold it. Let me just go back to ground rules on public meetings. So, whoever is not on the board needs to wait. We sort of did it in reverse. Generally, we do public participation first. Why don't we go ahead and let the board members continue to deliberate, and then I will, as the chair of Wakefield, open it up to public comment for a few minutes. But it's not a deliberation with public, it's just open comments. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my comments, and then we'll go through the rest of the board, and then I will determine as the chair when to pull Wakefield comments in from the public. So my thoughts. So first, on the document itself, it looks pretty good. I would like us to deliberate a little bit on the fines. I feel like they're a little bit high. I can tell you that we have gotten, I would echo Ruth's concern in that, and Administrator Mayo, and that, you know, myself have gotten some emails, and I've talked to a lot of store owners themselves who just said, you know, it would really be nice. We don't want to be the ones to tell people to put a mask on, and there are an awful lot of citizens who are taking this to heart and feel like they're at risk. And I know that everybody is of a different mind, but if we really think that this diminishes risk in any way, then we should, you know, I want to be more careful. I don't want to say, oh, gee, I wish we had done a mask mandate. And it's just having the advisory is, it's not enough. And I just think that the collective anxiety in the town at this point is kind of worth doing this. I also feel like, you know, we've gotten better at getting people masks who don't have masks, and certainly any face covering will do. And we did see through the drive-through the other day that people were pretty creative with face coverings, and I was happy that we were able to get them some masks. So that's my thought. My only comments on the wording. I think maybe we should discuss the fine structure. And then the other is, we are getting calls about people in close proximity when they're exercising, and I don't want to mandate a mask for exercising, but we might want to include, you know, this does not cover outdoor activities. However, we continue to advise that you have a face covering available. I don't know if that confuses things. Elaine, do you have any thoughts?
My thoughts are, I think we have to do it, unfortunately. In talking a lot to a lot of people, there is a lot of anxiety about what is really going on. And because this isn't some type of a virus that we can really explain how it gets spread. And I think if you pay attention and you read on it, you wonder more and more about are we ever going to know and what is the safest thing. I find that a lot of people have told me that they like the fact that, you know, most people have a mask on. They like it when they go into a store, when you go to pick up a delivery and you go and there they are with their mask on. It's almost like you could say it was a false sense of security maybe because they have it. But I think it's one thing that has been in effect and that maybe we just have to be a little bit stricter for a while with it. And the wording was fine with me. I understand, Laura, where you're coming from with the fines and everything. I understand that. My only thing is when we go to enforce it, that's my problem. How do you really and truly enforce it? I mean, I think it's another added burden to the police department. It's another added burden to the health department, but that's the only way that I think we can do it. But I think that the stores, if you go to most of the retail and you go in most stores or most places to pick up, I know we've run into it, and that's what I've seen. There's a lot of people with masks.
The enforcement part, this is Ruth, really wouldn't be the police. I throw that in as a backup. And, you know, it's really for the enforcement part. If an older person walks into Walgreens to pick up their prescription and leaves, you know, and they tell them, don't do that, we're not going to know about that.
Right.
But when the issue is, we've had some restaurants, I was going to report this later, but our inspectors have gone to every food establishment that's open, that we could find open, and reminded them about masks and gave them masks, but we still have some that just don't wear them. So the enforcement would come there because, you know, they've been warned, and we can put a warning in before the first fine also. So it's really, the enforcement part is really for the people who are basically going out of their way not to wear a mask.
That's mine.
Candace?
Yeah, I think we should go ahead and do this also. One of the first thoughts I had, and I don't know how feasible this would be, does it make sense to ask some of the larger businesses to provide masks for people that show up and don't have one? I don't know about availability to the general public of just simple masks. I do get concerned about denying folks access to food and pharmacy services, saying that they can't come in if they don't have a mask on. But I also think there's some good language in there about alternatives. I think, you know, most everybody probably has a scarf of some kind at home, or an extra shirt that they could use. So I guess it's just impressing upon folks the importance of just doing this. I think you're right, Elaine. I think a lot of people do seem to kind of feel a bit more at ease when folks are wearing masks in public. And yeah, whether or not that, you know, gives them a false sense of security, or if it just takes their general anxiety down a few pegs, they're probably both not the worst things that could come out of this. I also think that in some of the places that have successfully curbed the you know, the increase in cases, they've taken some somewhat strict and somewhat drastic measures. And maybe, you know, this doesn't sound like the strictest and the most drastic thing to ask of folks. I think it's not unreasonable to go forward. I'm on board with the language. And I don't know, Laurel, there is a little paragraph in there about folks that are exercising outside, that the rule doesn't apply to them.
Right. We are getting, we actually partially already have a shipment of another 25,000 masks. We have half today and the other half tomorrow. So I don't think it's unreasonable. I mean, the inspectors have gone around and offered masks already to the businesses, but we can certainly go around again and, you know, offer masks to places that want to have a few on hand to give to a customer. They're paper masks, so they're disposable, and I don't think that would be a hardship for us to do that.
Ruth, I see that Steve Mayo's hand is up. So Steve, do you want to jump in?
Laurel, thank you. There was someone else from Wakefield that wanted to speak. I will yield to that person, and then I'll jump in after that, whether that's okay.
Okay.
Sure, I would just say I was from Wakefield, period.
Go ahead. Oh, thank you, James.
Okay.
We're glad to have you. James, if you could go ahead and just mute yourself, because every time something moves in your room, you get the camera on you. So that's how the recording will come out. You're
I
very
just
handsome.
muted him.
Good. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay, Steve.
All right. So then I will speak, if that's okay, Madam Chair. I completely support the board personally in this action. I just want to say that we've received a lot of calls, a lot of emails, concerned public about the lack of masks. I do like the fact that people can have a homemade mask or a cloth mask or a scarf or a bandana or a handkerchief. I would agree. I think Candace made the comment, and I think the Madam Chair did as well. Almost everybody has that in their repertoire. So the example given that the elderly won't be able to go and get their prescriptions, to me, I think every person has a scarf or a bandana that's going in there. I think this is really to protect the people that are in the stores, the other people, because they are a little bit nervous about that as well. And it will give them a little bit of teeth if, a bunch of people come in that are not following the rules as others are, as they should be following. It'll help them out. So I personally completely support this. I would also support some sort of line reminder about when people are out walking, what have you, that they should have a mask handy if they do, or something handy if they do get into, there's some sort of a crossing or something. We've done so much to try to stop the spread of this that I completely support the Board of Health in this. And I want to thank you for allowing me to speak. So thank you very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, so
Laura, let me just ask the Wakefield board about that part in italics.
all right, now I need to
Are you
look.
guys into the whereas, or you want to just go straight to these are the rules?
I got my hand up again.
Hey,
If I may, I forgot two things. I'm getting old and addled. Madam Chair, may I?
Yes, yeah, I'm trying to look at this thing, so I can't see you, Steve, but go ahead.
Tom Mullen did, I thought Ruth said that Tom Mullen did review this and make some comments.
Yep.
Okay. I have not seen Tom's comments, but I've worked with Tom for about 20 years. My suggestion to the board would be to go with Tom's comments, whether stylistically you like whereases or don't. I kind of like the whereases myself because I think it does make this more of an official form and kind of gives us a little bit of, not teeth, but a little bit of legitimacy on going off the CDC and the governor's orders. So I kind of like the whereases personally, but with whatever Tom said, I'd go with.
As a style, I'm wondering if there should be a break when we actually get to it. So you have all these, it's like, for God's sakes, the actual order doesn't start until after all of the whereas. I'm just wondering if there should be like 3 stars as a break so people know where, or you bold the actual order.
Tom underlined it.
He did, okay.
Yeah.
I would, yeah, and I'm with Steve too. I just can't pull up both.
Yeah, Tom's comments were, like editing stuff. Like instead of saying there, he said use his or her, things like that.
I'm not sure I agree with him actually on that because of our new,
yeah,
our new kind of sensibility about he, she, they.
That's why I put there in personally.
Yeah, I would agree with there, they, there, whatever.
But yeah, after the whereases, he has in capitals now, therefore, and then the rest is regular, but it's that line is underlined, so it does look like it's a break.
Yeah, so I would endorse that, but I need to hear if there's anything else. And does the board have any thought about the fines?
So it was 50, 100, and then jumped to 300 because it's the third time we've had to do it. I think, who did, Salem had 50, 150, and 300.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to go any higher, that's for sure.
I don't think we can.
I'm wondering about the logistics of enforcing. Like, are the store owners going to call the police and then the police are going to come and issue a ticket? Is that what's going to happen? Or, I mean,
I think
I
they're
wonder
more
if the
likely to
person,
call the health department. I think the
that
only
the
time
store
they,
would call the health.
the only time they would call the police is, and this is consistent with the advice we've always given places that sell tobacco, is don't get into an argument, don't compromise your own safety, sell them the cigarettes or whatever you need to do, and then call the police. So, you know, we would all, our suggestion is for the police is only in the case if somebody fears for their safety. But besides that, we would come out. And I'm working every day, so.
Well, I think I'm glad you reminded us that, Ruth, because I wonder how important are these fines? You know, I mean, is this where you want to devote your resources right now to enforcing and finding these people, or?
Well, I will tell you from our experience in the past of when the board has instituted new rules and regulations, the enforcement has never been an issue because once they're in place, for the most part, people comply with them. It really becomes an issue when, as I said, somebody's going out of their way to not do it. So,
Okay.
you know, I can think of a restaurant in Melrose who's been told the workers should be wearing masks. And, you know, and I called them on the phone as I drove by and saw them not wearing masks and said nicely, why aren't you wearing a mask? And he's like, I am. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm right outside your window and you're not. Yeah, we all have masks. Okay. So, you know, after they've been warned and I go by another time and they're still not wearing a mask, then they get a ticket. So it's more of that kind, and I don't really see it being a huge time commitment.
Okay. And does it seem like you're ticketing establishments more than individuals?
I think so. I would agree.
Then maybe the cost isn't the biggest issue then, if the majority of these citations are going to be issued to businesses and not individuals?
You know, I'm just thinking of scenarios. So if a grocery store has somebody who comes in constantly without a mask, after they've been told, you have to wear a mask, you have to wear a mask, you have to wear a mask. You know, and they call us and they say, you know, this guy comes in every morning at 8 a.m. or whatever, you know, we can show up. I have showed up at grocery stores to say, you know, you're not complying with the governor's order. So it's what we do.
Okay.
Okay, see, Wakefield likes the whereases, and then it does have that that break that shows the difference.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other thing I'm hearing is to just add a phrase after the permissible outdoor physical activity and put in a phrase about, you know, although we strongly advise people using a face covering, and then keep going on.
Or so this is where we're going to get into.
Now put in whatever you want.
Yeah, no. So yes, I was thinking we continue to advise face covering be available at all times. Just, you know, like,
Yep.
You know, what, you know.
I got it. We continue to advise the use of face coverings.
No, well, my idea is that someone has it on them so that they can quickly adjust. So to have a face covering available would be the language I would suggest.
Okay. To have, advise having a face covering available at all times.
Yes.
Got it.
Which speaks to all the runners who are wearing things around their neck and they're popping them up. But I got to tell you, I tried to keep talking with the mask on the other day and I almost needed my inhaler. So I was like, okay, I kind of get how you can't keep this on forever.
No, but a lot of them, you just pull it up.
Yep.
We're down. Okay, and then what effective date did you want? Because I left that blank.
I'm suggesting tomorrow because Wakefield is, people are just begging for this for the most part. I've had one letter that is telling us that we're overreaching and everybody else is just begging us. Any other thoughts, board?
Well, do you want to say?
I think it's okay.
for this?
If it's possible.
If it is possible for tomorrow at midnight,
Yeah, so then it would be effective basically
Saturday.
the beginning of Saturday.
Yeah.
right?
Okay, I got it.
It's supposed to be a beautiful day, so.
That would be nice. And what about the fines? Did you want to change those? Do you want to put in a warning and then $50 for the first events, 100 for
Yes.
the second?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So warning, and then 50, 100, and 300 for the third and subsequent
Offensive.
offenses. All right, I'm just going through again just to see if there was anything else to. Tom had a question under D on the first page about what is this routing access? I think that's a typo. I think it just cross out the word routing or have access.
Yep.
Everett's to see what it says. Oh, it said routine. That's what it was. I didn't like the routine. I think just access is better.
Okay. Whoa,
Whoa, who is that?
someone mute.
Hold on, I'm gonna mute Candace.
Yeah.
Yep, it was Candace.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
She'll put her hand up when she's ready.
Okay, and in the original I sent you, as I said, I mostly used Everett's, but I added a word here or a word there, but I showed you where those differences were.
Okay.
Okay, so I can, okay, well, this is what it is then.
So
I
you
mean,
want
I'll
me
send
to-
you a clean copy, but I have Tom's things are already in here.
Yep.
And the only other change is adding the warning, adding the date, and adding a phrase about we continue to advise having face coverings available at all times.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to unmute Candace and
Yep.
Elaine, and are either one of you prepared to make a motion?
Hold on, I'm trying to unmute. Unmute.
There you go.
Yeah, I can make a motion to accept the order with the amendments proposed.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Elaine Silva, aye.
Oh, yeah, do the roll call.
Candace Linehan,
Candace Linehan, aye.
Laurel Gorville, aye.
Thank you. I will send you a cleaned up version. Okay, back to Melrose. Is anybody? Yeah, you're not muted. Anybody muted there? No. Frank, you're not muted. Oh, no, Frank is muted. Sorry. I'm trying to unmute you, Frank. There you are. Okay, sorry. Okay, so Frank and Maureen, what do you want to do? There's only two of you, so it would have to be unanimous.
So Yeah, I feel like the advisory we put out before just doesn't have any teeth to the point where we're seeing the compliance that I at least would like to see more universally. And, you know, and I think that the store owners, pharmacy owners, the business owners need to realize that this is to give their employees a little bit more confidence that their boss is looking out for them and taking care of them, and to give the people who come in, the customers, give them a little reassurance that this place is up to snuff on what they should be doing and they're complying and all that. I find it hard to believe that a business owner is going to be opposed to this. I think everyone recognizes that we have fines in place, and I agree with that, because you have to have some kind of teeth, some kind of repercussions if you're going to put a rule out there. And hopefully it won't come to that. I do think that if an old person goes into Walgreens to pick up their prescription, somebody's going to nicely say, you know, you really should be wearing a mask, and they're going to probably just leave, and that's that. I think the fines and the calling and reinforcing is going to be more for people who are just outright refusing to and causing a ruckus of some sort. So I think that this gives the advisory that we put into place before a little bit more teeth and makes people pay a little more attention. And regardless of whether we do this or not, we're still going to have to revise things once the old advisory is expired on May 4th. So I don't really see a downside to doing this now, I guess.
If you do it now, the wording says that it stays into effect as long as you continue your public health emergency. So it doesn't have to be amended again.
Okay, I guess I'm,
You know,
the curfew that we said expires May 4th or whatever, right? Whenever the state of emergency
right.
Is whatever the state of emergency of Massachusetts was declared. So let me turn a light on. I feel like I'm a ghost over here.
I was just thinking, is Frank in his own curfew?
It's like a seance. All right, I'm
Oh,
back.
there he is.
Okay,
There you go. Now we can.
so I don't know. What do you think, Maureen? It sounded like you were talking more about what the business owners were saying, that they weren't for it, but you know, I mean, they should realize this is to really benefit them. It's going to help their business and help their employees feel better, you know, I think.
Well, I think everybody I talked to said all of their employees are wearing a protective facial stuff. And they have enough, you know, supply for all of their employees without exception. Most of them were for it. I wouldn't say, I'd say 50-50. I just really kind of thought where we only had another week or so, 10 days before that advisory is going to run out and we have to make a decision on that. My feeling was, why not send out a reminder and explain to them again that, you know, facial coverings don't mean a mask. It's anything you have that covers your nose and mouth. And then next week when we have another meeting, it'll be time to look into the ending of the advisory. If you feel that you want to do it, I'll go along with you.
No, I obviously we're only a board of 2 right now, so.
I know we have to be, we can't split this decision.
But I think Ruth brought up a good point that the May 4th thing is more the curfew that we put in place, not anything else having to do with the advisory regarding masks and whatnot. Is that?
But
right?
that was also on the curfew.
Yeah, that was both.
Was that part of the
It was
same?
both.
But if you do this order, then, and you keep this wording, then this stays in place as long as there's a public health emergency. The curfew can,
Well, we still have to vote on that again next week.
well, you don't have to vote on it as long as
Or
you're
extend it,
comfortable with
but-
it ending on May 4th, then it just ends on May 4th. You would only have to do something if you wanted to continue it. And I'm not, at least the feedback that we're getting from the public and the emails and the phone calls is that the curfew is not an issue, it's the mask. I haven't gotten any complaints about the curfew. I get a lot of complaints about the masks. Not using masks.
But Maureen, getting back to what the business owners that you spoke to, it sounds like they were thinking that this is a punitive thing for them to make sure their employees are wearing masks. But I think I see it more as a protective thing for their employees to make sure the customers are wearing masks when they go in. I think the letter we got from that lady at Whole Foods, for example, she's worried about the customers who are coming in and not wearing masks, and that's harder for a place of business to enforce versus a place of business making sure their employees are all wearing masks and doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
This gives the business owners a little bit of leverage, and so I think it's to help them.
That's fine. I'll go with it.
Frank, we're not hearing you again.
Oh, that's weird. Somebody mute me?
Oh, no, it was just really quiet. We could hear you, but it was really soft. Okay, now we hear you again.
Okay.
All right.
Did you
So
not hear that?
that's fine. I'll go along with it, and this will just supersede whatever would have gone on next week at the end of for the advisory that we had in effect.
Okay, so Frank, we need a motion.
Okay, so
Can we go over some of the wording now?
yeah.
I don't like all that where is.
Okay,
Personally, we did that with the last one. It's all the same stuff.
so Frank had suggested that taking out the second one and keeping the
The
first,
second one, what? Where is?
the second whereas,
Okay.
and keeping the first, third, fourth, fifth.
Yeah, okay. The first one I can say, yeah.
So that was his. And then under D, it was taking out the word that I've crossed out, so now I can't read it, before access. And then,
So you're leaving in the first paragraph about COVID-19 being a fatal respiratory disease, right?
right.
And then the next one,
we
the
were
center,
crossing out.
you're crossing that out.
And then
And
Frank
then-
liked the next three.
Aren't these all the same ones we had in the last thing that we just put in?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I can look really fast. Hold on.
I mean, a lot of it is repetitive, but at least the last three paragraphs I thought were important to remind people of why we're doing this again.
All right, I have the declaration of public health emergency.
Oh, I have it too. Where the
It's
heck
not
is
in
it?
that one.
It's not,
It's not in the personal care one. It's not in those. I can go look at the other one.
all right, so you're taking out the second one. And you want the rest of it left in.
Okay, that's
First
fine.
paragraph, I would just say, whereas coronavirus is highly contagious and potentially fatal respiratory disease, and scratch the rest of the first one.
Okay, got it.
I mean, just to cut down some of the wording, because
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah, because I think people look at all this wording and they don't get to what you really want them to read.
Okay.
but I do like some of what's his name, Tom Mullins' edits.
Yeah, they're editorial edits, but I have to agree with Laurel about the keeping their instead of his or her.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay.
But also the last whereas the recommendations observe that, he changed it to something like whereas.
He changed it to whereas said authorities advise that covering an individual
Yes.
knows.
Yeah, I like that better.
Yeah, okay, well, that's what's in there.
I don't think I have that, but anyway.
Oh, so you're looking at the one.
I'm looking at something else.
Oh,
did I sent you the one that had Tom's revisions.
Okay, and that's the one you're looking at, Ruth?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, all right. I was looking at
it
our.
just shows like what he added or what he crossed out.
Yeah.
But they're editorial, I mean, they're editing, they're not editorial.
Okay, I don't have that one.
It doesn't change the concept, it just changes words.
All right.
Right.
Okay,
And can I ask, going down further,
Yep.
the D, engaged in activity within a confined or enclosed facility, what is that supposed to be?
work.
What's it supposed to refer to?
Well, it refers to all different kinds of work instead of, like, some of the other ones talked about businesses and workplaces. We can use the word businesses or workplaces, but they're inside businesses or,
Yeah,
Like construction?
I read that as just any place where people are gonna potentially be in a confined area. I mean, it's just kind of a common sense sort of,
right? Construction is separate.
anything that
and
isn't
it's-
covered by the
All right.
others above.
Okay,
It's separate and it's addressed by the governor's thing.
okay.
So when, again, did you want the warning and then 50, 100, 300, or what would you like?
Definitely a
yeah.
warning.
Yeah,
I
I think the
mean-
warning first will kind of,
We're not doing this to make money,
No,
Right.
of course not.
so
No. Okay, and then again, when did you want an effective date?
hey, Ruth, one more question if I may.
Yeah.
The paragraph above that he X'd out all orders related to blah, blah, blah. What exactly did that mean and why did he X it out? I wasn't sure what that meant.
So it was in there, I think I put that in, actually. Oh, you know why I put that in? Because Salem talked about social distancing and this and that and this and that, which are already covered with the governor's orders. But I didn't really want to start putting all that stuff in. So I just kind of lumped it all together by saying any of the governor's orders, like he has an order that about limiting the number of people in a grocery store and that there have to be markings every 6 feet. I didn't want to reiterate all that. So I just wanted to reference it, and he's suggesting we don't reference it, which is fine, doesn't matter. Still there.
Okay.
So I'm looking at a totally different thing, I think.
Hold on, I can re-email it to you.
This is,
The only problem is how do I get let me see if I can get on my phone.
I did send it to you at 4:11.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I've got one, but it apparently isn't the one you're looking at.
It says draft emergency order, town council's edits, and I sent it.
Draft emergency order from the mayor. Sincerely, Paul Broder. No,
No, that was just his comments.
yeah. Let me,
send it 4:10 today.
I sent it at 4, because that's when I think I got his comments. Yeah, that's when I got his comments.
let me see if it's this one. Nope.
I just resent it.
Okay. All right.
Maureen, you can actually look at your email. You just won't see Zoom, but then you can hear us, and then you can get
Oh.
right back on, you can do Zoom again.
You know what? I just pulled it up on my cell phone.
Oh, good.
I do that too.
I wouldn't want to try to do that.
If I could read it.
It's pretty small.
Yeah, it sure is. Okay, so that much I've got. And the thing about the sign, are required to
Go
accept.
to the very end. So at the very end, 4th from the bottom, it says, all orders related to workplaces issued by Governor Baker, blah, blah, blah. And he just crossed that sentence out.
to the extent necessary, this order will be enforced by the health department and police officers.
No,
Is that-
the one right above that.
This order will be deemed any person or worker and said,
No. It's crossed out and it says all orders related to workplaces issued by Governor Baker's COVID-19 executive order are in effect and may be enforced locally by this order, which we can already do. So he was suggesting not putting it in.
I'm not saying that. All right, anyway, whatever you're doing, that's fine. Go for it. That's,
Yeah.
what I'm seeing on here is exactly what I've got in front of me.
Okay. So
I don't see
hearing that
anything
you,
about Governor Baker.
okay, I'm hearing though you do want to keep the warning, then the fine.
Yeah.
And you want me to include what Wakefield included, we continue to advise having face coverings available at all times.
Yes,
And
if
then,
you're out running, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so when did you want to do as effective date?
Well, I think you have to give them time to do it, so, and they have to put the signage up, right?
Yep, could say Monday.
So, even Saturday, if Saturday's gonna be good weather, you may.
We can do Saturday, and tomorrow we can send this out to all of our food establishments.
Yeah, Wakefield's doing Saturday, right?
Yep. Okay.
And Saturday's supposed to be nice, so hopefully.
Okay. Get this out tomorrow afternoon. I got conference calls from 9 to 12, but Cindy and Louise can get this out in the afternoon to all the food establishments.
Hey, Ruth and everybody, one more thing.
Yep.
With drive-throughs, I'm not so sure they're really addressed in this.
We don't allow drive-throughs in Melrose, except for pharmacy.
Yeah,
Well, the pharmacy drive-throughs are behind a window, plastic.
yeah. You don't have,
There's no drive-through food here.
Yeah, we do. Down on Lintells Parkway, going toward Grimsby's. Is that Stoneham?
That's in Stoneham.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, Melrose doesn't allow them.
Hmm.
Yeah, everybody thinks it's Melrose, but it's Stoneham. Grimsby's is in Stoneham too.
I knew Grimsby's was, but I thought that was Melrose.
Nope.
I thought we just didn't have them, but we actually don't allow them. We've purposely,
I don't think they're allowed under zoning. I think you need a special permit.
really? Okay.
Hmm.
All right. I've been through a couple lately and I just noticed that's kind of variable too. And the other thing I was going to ask about, maybe we can wait till the weather gets nicer, but ice cream trucks and food trucks.
So, very good point. I put that in my email.
We can next time. I saw Laurel dropping her head. Sorry.
Well, I wrote in my email that some of the other orders don't allow ice cream trucks, but my comment was if you're not going to allow ice cream trucks, you can't allow any mobile food trucks. You don't have to talk about it now. It can be something done separately. I believe it's Salem. Yeah. Salem does not allow ice cream trucks as long as there's a public health emergency. So,
Okay, we can table that.
to be honest with you,
Sorry.
Melrose and Wakefield, we have very few ice cream trucks.
I don't think Melrose has many trucks of any type unless it's a parade or something, do we?
Yeah, no, we don't. Very few. Melrose might only be Noonan's, to be honest with you. Wakefield has maybe 2 or 3, except for when there are parades, which there won't be this year, so.
Did you guys vote?
Nope,
Oh, sorry.
they're discussing.
Yeah. Okay, so
Not paying attention.
move to accept the order as written.
Okay,
Second.
with the comments. Okay, roll
Second.
call vote for Frank,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
This is nothing like the Board of Aldermen when they do it 11 times. Okay, 200. So next is the health director's report. So I'm giving you a verbal one because I'm actually going to talk about something that's not COVID-19 related to begin with, which is unbelievable. And it's why I don't have a written one. So the FDA grant, just as a reminder, the 5-year FDA grant that we have ends in June, and they put out an RFR for an additional year. And they even extended the deadline for a whole month to help us, which is tomorrow. So I have spent most of this week writing the FDA grant, which I think is actually done about 10 minutes before this meeting started. I went through the verification process with, you know, all their red tape, and I think I fixed all the issues. So I think it actually should go through. I don't think I'm going to do it tonight, but it should actually go through first thing tomorrow morning when I try it again. And that is a 1-year extension for the same 5 communities, but also adding a couple of more that we've been working with informally, and this just formalizes it. So, so that's what I've been doing this week mostly. We have had a couple of complaints. I mean, for the most part, we're not responding to complaints. We did have one housing complaint in Wakefield that Coral is going out on because it's a severe mold issue inside, which is allegedly causing some health issues. So she is going out on that one. And the other complaints, to be honest with you, we haven't gotten a lot of complaints. We've gotten a couple. And if they're something I can do by driving by, I do it. But to be honest, we haven't really gotten too many complaints, which is good. So COVID-19, our current numbers as of today is 136 for Melrose, 197 Wakefield. A lot of the Wakefield numbers are in nursing homes. I am on the federal and state conference calls every day but Thursday. And I would say the biggest piece of information I would have for you is with the state statistics, because people have been sheltering in place for a considerable amount of time now, the average number of contacts, close contacts per case statewide is 2, which is good. And as long as people stay away from each other, it will continue to be relatively low, which certainly helps us with the contact tracing. Even though it's school vacation week, the school nurses are continuing to work and helping with the contact tracing, which is fantastic. And Laurel and Elaine are now also helping us. Elaine, because of her past employment, is very familiar with using Maven, the electronic surveillance system. So that's hugely helpful for Karen to have somebody else be able to input all this stuff into Maven. Laurel is doing a lot of the checkup phone calls to take people off quarantine, which has been our lower priority, and now we'll be able to hopefully catch up with that. So, you know, we're in a really good place. We have, I think, about 22 nurses between the 2 communities working on case management and contact tracing. So the state does have this community tracing, CTC, community tracing something program to help us if we need help. Right now, we're doing okay. We would use them right now if we had a language barrier, because they have a lot of people with a lot of different languages who could do contact tracing, so that would be helpful. So that part is going actually really well. Wakefield, as Wakefield people, I'm pretty sure know by now, we did a mass distribution on Monday, a drive-through that went really great. Laurel was there, fire chief, lots of DPW, me, whatever. There was a bunch of us there. It went really well. We got a lot of positive feedback. The Galvin is really ideally suited for that kind of a drive-through. We did order another 25,000 masks. Half of them are here, and the other half, even though they were all ordered at the same, shipped out at the same time, some came today, the rest will be here tomorrow. For Melrose, we're waiting for those to come from China. They should be here the beginning of next week. I will check in with them tomorrow to see where they're at. Melrose ordered 20 originally. And, oh, for Wakefield, again, I think Wakefield already knows this, the drive-through was for people 60 and older or people who have underlying health conditions. The Council on Aging there had also and has also been doing drop-offs to elderly who can't get out of their homes. And we had already delivered masks to all the elder housing. Melrose, we distributed 1,000 masks previously to the elder housing. And Melrose is doing theirs a little differently. The plan is to deliver the masks to each household. Again, households with 60 or older. If they have underlying health conditions and they're under 60 and they can let us know, we'll drop off. The health department staff dropped off to 100 households last week, Monday and Tuesday. And Melrose Helps is continuing to compile for people who need face masks. But as I said, we'll be doing that hopefully next week when the masks arrive for people 60 and older. So things are good, busy, but I think going pretty smoothly. That's all I had. Do anybody have questions about what we're doing for COVID-19 at this point?
Ruth, I have a question.
Yep.
What number would they call if people are looking for these masks? Do they call the health department or who are they calling?
They can call the health department, but we prefer them to call Melrose Helps. And that phone number is on the website, and I don't have it off the top of my head. Let me see if I can look it up on my phone.
And they'll deliver the masks if they need them.
Yep. Yeah, and we have been. And we have been from here. I've been bagging masks for people who are under 60 that have health conditions, and somebody from Melrose Helps comes by and picks it up and delivers for them. So, yep, it's working pretty well.
Are they publishing that? Like, is the mayor putting that on his blog thing?
I think
With the phone
so.
number?
He's been doing his daily updates also, and it is, I don't think he says that every single night. It is on the website, and I can double check with him too.
That might be helpful if all these seniors say they don't have.
Well, we've gotten
Have
calls
masks.
from seniors in places that I know for a fact, because I personally delivered masks,
Yeah,
say they don't have masks. So sometimes it's, I think, and one thing we've talked about here in Melrose is being very careful about what the message is, because these are paper disposable masks.
mhm.
The cloth masks, you can wash and keep reusing. Obviously, you can't do that with a paper mask. So we want to be careful that the message is clear about expectations, because It's not the goal of the city to supply everybody with masks for the
Right.
remainder of the pandemic. It's to help people kind of
Mhm.
get through till they find masks or, whatever, so. I will say at the drive-through in Wakefield on Monday, and I was on one side, and I think I was on the same side as you, Laurel, most of it. I think I only saw 2 people come through that really had super jerry-rigged face coverings.
Yeah, there were a couple. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw, I'm sure you're thinking of the same one.
Yeah.
And we did have one guy come through twice, who I recognized and said, hello, didn't you already come through here? Yeah,
Nothing's perfect.
no, it's an honor system.
Yep.
But we will definitely be doing some more messaging, especially once the masks are in hand, but I'm very cautious about any messaging until we actually have the masks.
Mhm.
It was interesting. I got a phone call from somebody who asked me, like, what was the outside? What was the top? I was like, oh, gee. Like, I don't know. I didn't look. What color are they?
Blue is on the outside.
I know. I said, does it have a color? The color is always on the outside.
Yeah, the blue is on the outside, and one side has a, I don't know how to describe it, but a
Like a
more
GM.
firmer top that you can pin.
Yeah, it has a nose. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
that's the top.
You just don't see what you've seen for so long anymore. So.
Yep. It's okay.
You want me to
I
run?
wore my Red Sox one.
Yeah. It needs to be tighter. I'm gonna fix it.
Yes, I do need to fix it. Thank you. Other questions? I mean, a lot of the things have been, I don't read the Herald, but I do read the Globe. A lot of the information the Globe has really been on top of. Things like they've changed the protocols for nursing homes and long-term care facilities. They recently said that they could order kits and do them themselves. They've retracted that because they sent out 14,000 kits. Only 4,000 came back, and half of them came back unusable. So they're like, this isn't working. We'll go back, the National Guard will go out, as they have been and continued to all along. And they'll work that out so that system works better. The AFC urgent care in Stoneham also has the rapid test now. So when they test people, they have the results that day, and they're excellent because they actually call me with every one of their positives, and we cross-check it against Maven, just as a double check, which has been great. So they've been a great partner.
Has the criteria for has criteria changed? Probably Frank and Candace could speak to that as well. In regards to testing, are we opening it up at all? Or you still have to be symptomatic or?
I believe you still have to be symptomatic, but the symptoms have really expanded.
And also,
We're testing everybody.
they're testing first responders now with or without symptoms.
Right.
At least in Melrose.
And in East Boston, we're testing everybody, symptoms or no symptoms. We have a walk-in center at the health center and in the drive-in center at Suffolk Downs.
No.
Right.
Oh, because of the incidents in Chelsea, just because the incidence is so high, or just because you have the
Well, we have community spread now. So with the community spread, the symptoms aren't as important.
Okay.
And are you using the rapid ones or the regular ones?
They take about 24 to 48 hours.
Okay, so those are the regular ones. That's still fine. It's still good.
Okay, I think
One said,
Melrose Wakefield would like to expand testing if they had more, but they don't have enough to do it. So
yeah. Yeah,
Right.
I've had people
maybe
asking
that's
me.
still what they're doing.
I'm not sure. Okay. Ruth, do you want to get onto the other agenda on the item on the agenda? My goodness, I'm backwards.
What was the other item? on the agenda?
I just wanted to do a quick review on other town event, what the town council was doing.
Oh, right, sorry.
No worries. It's not going to take long. I had just
Yeah, yeah.
realized that several folks in town were kind of doing other efforts that had to do with COVID, and certainly the ones that have to do with places that are closed and finances and all of that. That's super important. But I was also realizing that we have some volunteers out there amongst our very dedicated town councilors. So I just wanted to kind of get a sense. So I just wanted to report to you that town councilor Julie Smith Galvin actually has a sewing consortium for face masks, and she's certainly offered if we ever wanted to just have the ability to match people who might be calling who are not on Facebook or any of the other usual ways that you see things. I think people on Facebook, I think the world gets smaller, and then you just miss people who are not, and plenty of people are not. So she's certainly willing to have her team help us.
Great.
You know, if we ever, you know, if we want to go that way. I'm not sure what you're thinking, but now that we are putting in this this new order, it might not be a bad idea, but I think we have to think thoughtfully, because I don't want to inundate the department phones, but we could at least, if people call and ask, we could definitely refer them to Julie, and she could probably match them up. So,
Yeah, let me talk to Judy Luciano too, though, because
Yep.
she's been kind of coordinating that.
oh, good. Okay. So those are cloth masks.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And sometimes cloth masks are more relevant
right.
to certain people.
Right. So perfect segue to Judy Luciano. So a good chunk of, several town councilors had gone and helped deliver those masks from the senior center. Also, they've taken Maureen Butt, Jonathan Chines, Julie Smith Galvin, Ann Santos, and Paul Donaco have been making outreach calls to seniors. And for the most part, those have been well received. And so I just, asked them if they're hearing any trends to please let us know. But that was, and I think Steve was concerned that we just didn't, we just weren't aware of who might be shut in. So they were doing that. And then Ed Dombrowski has been taking on a lot of public service messaging. So I've asked him to keep us in the loop as to what his plans are, so that we could maybe combine and make sure that we're all on the same track. And he is going to work with Catherine Dingra and the kids on Wake Up, who are going to put some PSAs out next week. And I believe Paul is doing some commercial outreach, just commerce outreach. So I had just asked them all to keep us in the loop if they hear anything, and certainly also if they were hearing any complaints. So already they have told me about, certain business owners who were worried about the mask order, and we're hoping that we would do it. So I think it's just, it's a good reminder to make sure, because we're all doing things remotely, we're not bumping into each other to talk about things. So it was just a nice survey to be able to do that.
Thanks. We actually, I also, when I talked to Catherine about the kids doing PSAs, I also talked to her Melrose counterpart. The problem is Melrose does it at the high school in their studio, which they don't have access to. The Wakefield kids do it at WCAT, which they do have access to. So unfortunately, the Melrose kids are doing other things, but they're not going to be able to do that because they don't have access.
So WCAT's been doing things through Zoom. I wonder if Melrose, if they have an ability to do it remotely.
They could. They just would be doing it differently, because they wouldn't be using, the cameras and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So it's kind of just cool to see what's going on out there.
Yep. Yeah, we asked him if he would have Catherine on to do one of his PSAs to talk about things.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. What else is on the agenda? I think that, are we
That
done?
was it.
All right.
On a totally different note, that was a wonderful, wonderful display. I think it started in Wakefield in Saugus, from what I understand, tribute to the staff at the hospital with all the first responders today. It
Oh,
was phenomenal.
what did they do?
They paraded around in cars, fire trucks, ambulances, police vehicles from Newburyport on to everywhere around. And it must have gone on for at least 10 minutes with all the sirens, beeping horns. And they went all around the perimeter of the hospital.
And since you live across the street, you got to see it too.
It was like the best parade I've seen since the 4th of July in Wakefield when I was little.
I wish, Mr. Mayo, that it had been publicized a little more. I didn't even get a phone call, and I thought I had an in with people that did that. So I
knew nothing.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about it, but when I heard the sirens and they kept going and going, and there was a helicopter overhead, I said, uh-oh, something bad happened. So of course I went out, and then people were coming out and, along the.
They started it, Maureen. I read on Saugus Police sent the thing out up at the high school, from what I understand, at Wakefield High. They came down Melrose, down Main Street here in Wakefield, and I have a friend who recorded it and called me right away. What they recorded was phenomenal. It was beautiful, but I only wish that more people had kind of known about it. And
I didn't know a thing about it until.
I could have been outside their windows, just looked out their windows to see it. It was very breathtaking. It was beautifully done, beautifully.
It was awesome. And everybody in my neighborhood was out on their balconies clapping and,
nice.
even for the police and the fire. It was awesome. Awesome.
My husband texted me earlier that it was on the news tonight.
I didn't see it on the news, but I saw it in real time. I tried to video it to send to my grandkids, but all I got was my balcony. And
it was nice, very nice tribute they did. They should be really very proud of them, every community that they were in.
It was awesome.
Elaine, I thought you had an in.
I thought I did, and I know that there's a gentleman that already made a couple of phone calls tonight, and since nobody called me to tell me, so there's 2 children that aren't very happy tonight.
Just goes to show it doesn't change when they get older. They still don't tell you anything.
Sometimes it's nice not to know, but sometimes you really should know.
Madam Chair, can I play a thank you note message that we got? It's a less than a minute.
Yes.
Laurel.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
What's the matter with me? Yeah, there we go.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna Spinell, 20 Hillcrest Road in Wakefield. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for bringing these masks up to my home. I've lived in Wakefield for 73 years, and I'm so glad I have. I went to school in Wakefield. I also worked in Adams Academy for high school. But I just love Wakefield. Everybody does such a wonderful job. I'm glad I live here, and I want to thank you very much. It was a nice surprise. I went out for a little ride today, and it was nice to come home and find my mask. I did have one on when I went out. But anyway, thank you. God bless you.
Oh, that's nice.
So,
Thanks for sharing that.
yeah, wonderful. And thanks to just the town of Wakefield, which is what that was all about. So thank you, everyone, for working in it.
All right.
You know.
Are we done?
Yep,
I
you
hope-
guys, I have this on normally for every Wednesday night. Thanks for being flexible because of Patriots Day this week. And I'm assuming we'll do this again next Wednesday.
Yeah. Probably good idea.
Okay.
All right, motion to end the meeting.
Candace, can I hear a second?
I'll make the motion to end the meeting.
Could I just say something before you end the meeting?
I'm so sorry. Yes.
I didn't know when it was my turn to
No,
talk.
you're
so-
right, Deborah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. I just want to say thank you all very much. You all worked really hard on this and everything, the masks, and I'm so thrilled that you decided to pass this regulation about wearing the masks in the store. And I personally think that that's really going to empower the businesses to be able to enforce it. be able, and somebody mentioned giving masks to the businesses so that they could hand them to people who come in without a mask. I think that's a fantastic idea. Because then the people who really are deliberately not wearing the masks are not going to really have any choice. And there are a lot of people out there like that. I hardly ever see an elderly person who doesn't have a mask. It's other people who think it's a bunch of nonsense. And those are the people I'm most concerned about.
Well,
So
thank you.
thank you all very much. And thank you for letting me listen into the meeting.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us. Civics
Thank
and
you.
Okay. Elaine, you were saying?
I was saying I'll make a motion to end the meeting for Wakefield.
Do I have a second, Candace? Uh-oh, did we lose her? Candace?
He's there.
Okay, Candace, can you give us a second
Or not.
or not?
I don't think you need a second.
We
for-
don't. I can never
Yeah.
remember. So, all in favor? Yes.
Elaine Silver, aye.
Laurel Gorbel, aye.
Candace somehow must have walked away from her computer, so that's okay.
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 Doesn't the
anyone
chair
else?
usually make the motion to adjourn? Maureen?
Let's make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call. Frank, yes. Maureen, yes. Meeting
Meeting
is
ends at
adjourned at
8:30.
8:30. Exactly. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next
Doing
week.
well, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.